John Wall was born in Raleigh, North Carolina on September 6, 1990. His parents, Francis Pulley and John Carroll Wall Sr., were excited to have a boy. John Wall did not have an easy childhood. His father, who had already been in prison for second-degree murder, was found guilty of armed robbery when he was 1 year old. Wall Sr. got out of jail in August 1999, but a month later, at age 52, he died of liver cancer. At that time, John Wall was only 9 years old. John Carroll Wall Jr., Wall's older half-brother, promised at their father's funeral that he would take care of the family. The next year, he went to prison, but he was released in 2018. After the sad death of his father, Wall was full of anger and rage. This was because of how his life was going at the time. Wall was a star in basketball at a young age, but he was a terrible person off the court. Wall's mother, Frances, found a way to convince his coach to give him a second chance the following summer. The head coach would come up with calls against Wall to make the team angry. At this point, it was clear to the coach that Wall had changed because he was getting back on defense instead of picking fights during these plays. Wall would say that his mother helped him get rid of his old habits. When Wall was young, his mother's words would play over and over in his head. She would tell John, "Don't be like your father, you're better than that." During Wall's sophomore year of high school, the head coach cut him from the team in favor of a senior who was less likely to cause problems, but Wall chose not to fight back. Instead, he moved to Word of God Christian Academy. This is where Wall's coach, Levi Beckwith, asked him, "John, why aren't Duke and North Carolina recruiting you?" Wall said, "I don't know," in response. This is where Coach Levi told him, "Duke and North Carolina won't recruit you because you're an a-hole." After this conversation, Wall put his head down and tried to make a better name for himself. He wanted to prove to his coaches that he was a good teammate. He would later be invited to the Reebok All-American camp because of how hard he worked. "John, you've done a great job of turning your life around." Wall played basketball at Garner Magnet High School in Garner, North Carolina for his first 2 years of high school. After his second season, he and his family moved to Raleigh, where he went to Needham B. Broughton High School for his sophomore year. In 2009, Wall was a fifth-year senior at Word of God Christian Academy. He averaged 20 points, 9 assists, and more than 8 rebounds per game. He was ranked as one of the best high school basketball players in his class. Wall said that he planned to go to college at the University of Kentucky. He played with DeMarcus Cousins and Eric Bledsoe on the same team. Certainly, a strong lineup. John Wall entered the 2010 NBA draft after his freshman year when he averaged 16 points and 6.5 assists per game. He was the first player chosen by the Washington Wizards. DeMarcus Cousins and Paul George were both in this class. John Wall's time with the Wizards began in 2010 and ended in 2020. Wall averaged 19 points and 9.2 assists per game over this 10-year stretch of his career. He has more steals and assists than anyone else in franchise history. But in the last 3 years, he has only played in 40 of the 246 games he could have played. That's only 16% of games. Wall and a protected first-round pick for 2023 were traded to the Houston Rockets for Russell Westbrook in December 2020. Wall and the Rockets agreed that he wouldn't play in 2021-2022. At the time, the team was trying to rebuild and help young guards Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green get better. Wall and the Rockets came to an agreement to buy him out of his contract and he was let go. Wall joined the Los Angeles Clippers on July 8, 2022. He can now play with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Let's see if John Wall will do well in Los Angeles. Now that we know a bit about Wall's basketball career, let's talk about how he makes so much money. Contract. Wall's first deal in the NBA was with the Wizards, where he was a rookie. It was a $10 million deal for 2 years. Wall signed an extension with Washington for 5 years and $85 million in the summer of 2013. That's a salary of $17 million a year on average. After Wall had a great season in 2016-17, the Wizards gave him a $171 million 4-year extension as a designated veteran player. That's about $43 million per year on average. The deal went into effect for the 2019-2020 season. The Rockets did buy him out, and Wall has agreed to join the Los Angeles Clippers on a 2-year, $13.2 million deal. Wall's contract is one of the worst in NBA history because he's been hurt and has only played in 16% of games over the last 3 years. He made $44 million his last year in Houston, but John Wall is at least making that money roll. Endorsements. At his best, John Wall was well known. In 2010, Wall signed a $25 million 5-year endorsement deal with Reebok. The Zig Tech did come out, and it did look pretty good. Around that time, Reebok stopped focusing on basketball. In 2013, Wall switched to Adidas. Then in 2018, he signed a new 5-year deal with them. The salary is said to be $4 million a year, and Adidas has made John Wall's own shoes. His signature shoes are the J-Wall 1 and J-Wall 2, but the now Clipper also has other shoes like the Adidas Crazy BYW X. Due to Wall's injury and not playing much, Adidas did buy out John's contract in 2020. He's no longer tied to any shoe company. If he can get back to playing well for the Clippers, his popularity should grow over time. Wall is also the face of the New Era cap brand. Forbes says that Wall now makes $2.5 million a year from endorsement deals. Mansions. In Potomac, Maryland, John Wall has a huge estate. In 2013, right after he signed that $85 million deal with the Wizards, the five-time NBA All-Star bought a brick colonial for a whopping $4.9 million. This house has 10.5 bathrooms and 7 bedrooms. It is almost 17,000 square feet and sits on 2 acres. The bright kitchen, updated bathroom, and office are a dream. There's also an indoor half-court for basketball, a fitness center, a sauna, an outdoor pool and hot tub, and a movie theater with at least 11 seats. After leaving DC, John sold the house for $4.4 million in November 2021, a $500,000 loss. Wall is moving to Los Angeles this year, but he hasn't bought a house there yet because he's still getting settled. But John Wall has great taste, so you know the place will be big time. Cars. Like most ballers, Wall likes sports cars. The following cars are in John Wall's collection: a red Rolls-Royce worth $250,000 and a Ferrari worth $100,000. Wall has also given DreamWorks Motorsports his Bentley GT, Bentley Flying Spur, Maybach S560, Rolls-Royce Cullinan, Porsche Panamera, and most recently his camouflaged Mercedes G550 4x4. All of his cars could be worth more than a few $1,000,000 when put together. John, it's clear that you like cars. Talk about living in the fast lane. Love life. John Wall has dated a lot of different ladies. He has dated a lot of famous women like Hazel Renee, who is now married to Draymond Green, and Karrueche Tran, who dated Chris Brown, and may have even been linked to Rihanna. John and a woman named Shantae have a son named Ace. Wall also has a second son, but he hasn't told anyone what his name is or who his mother is. Now, it is said that Wall is back with Elaine XO. They met in a DC club where she worked as a bottle girl in 2012. Back then, it was said that John paid to have her body done. During the pandemic, they seemed to get back together, but they have been trying to keep it quiet. A person who didn't want to be named said that John Wall is likely one of the biggest players in the NBA. John Wall, I guess you really did win the game. Total wealth. You've all been waiting for this moment and it's finally here. How much money does John Wall have? Wall has a net worth of $110 million with everything going on in his life. Now that's a big deal. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Please consider dropping a like and subscribe to the channel for more celebrity and basketball content.